Here we go. Woo! We're there. So, motivation this week. We're going to be talking about why or why not you may be feeling motivated. We're going to spend a little bit of time just understanding a little bit about motivation so that you understand yourself a little bit more and therefore understand how you can get yourself motivated. And my aim throughout this and then at the end of the session is to give you a load of practical tips to help make this happen. So here I am giving a little plug to my ex-student Jade Bowler, who is of course Unjaded Jade, who was one of the first YouTubers, academic YouTubers on YouTube, got a massive YouTube and Instagram following. So I was her biology teacher. She was a pleasure to teach, not surprisingly, but quite appropriately demanding, which was fantastic. But she has gone on to write this, and I am about halfway through reading this. This only got published last week. I'm about halfway through reading it, and I think it's probably one of the most relatable, easy to read, and practical books that I have ever found on studying. And even better, it's actually based on science. So it is about the science of studying and how we learn and how we memorize and all the rest of it, as well as having chapters on things like mental health, perfectionism, how the flipping school system works, because that's a little bit interesting. So just to put everything in context for you. Anyway, really useful. I would absolutely recommend it. So here is the aim of today's session. And I'm going to be honest, I have paraphrased this from Jade's book because I am now learning from her to make results day an attitude, not a day in itself. And what the heck do I mean when I say that? Making results day an attitude. Well, that's about what you're going to feel like on results day when you open up that envelope. And here's the irony. I don't know if it's an irony or whether it's appropriate that I'm actually doing this session on A-level results day. So I am absolutely assuming I'm talking to people who are about to either start A-level, they're partway through their GCSEs, or partway through their A-level. How do you want to feel just as you're about to open up that envelope? You're bound to be nervous. But do you want to feel nervous, but kind of in the same way, a little bit calm, because you're standing there thinking, I know, to coin an Olympics phrase, I left it all out there on the track. I know that I did everything in my power, as I am at the moment, to achieve the best possible grades that I did. Or are you going to be standing there in a slight blind panic with the knowledge that perhaps you didn't do everything that you could? And therefore possibly being a little bit more scared, panicky, rather than nervous, calm. So I want you to focus on, oh, Ev, yes, just seen you've read half of the book already. Absolutely, it's great, isn't it? And really easy to read. How do you want to feel? And I would suggest to you that if your exam grades are important to you, and I presume they are because you're watching this, that you want to feel like you've done everything you can. And if you've got this far and you're not actually feeling like exam grades are that important to you, here's the bummer of a truth, is that whether you like it or not, in our current day and age, grades largely, not completely, but largely determine your options. Grades are the things that open the doors to give you different possibilities of where to go next. Now, can I absolutely make this clear? This is not totally the case, obviously. Yeah. Clearly, and the other thing really important to say is that even though I'm saying grades give you choices, better grades give you more choices, those grades don't define you. Let's be really frank. The flipping academic system and you getting certain grades for your GCSE or A levels are testing the narrowest aspect of your character, of something about you. They don't test so many different abilities that every single student has. They only test what you can hold in your brain and how you can apply that knowledge. So many other things they don't test. So I am not saying that grades define you. I do not believe that. But sadly, the bottom line is that generally, the better your grades, the more options that you have. So first of all, so that's why I'm kind of, I think you probably know that you want to feel good on the exam or results day. And so we want that wanting to feel good on results day being part of kind of every day of your academic life. I know that sounds like a big ask, but bear with me. Every day of your academic life leading right up to that day itself. First of all, let's just recognize that there are some reasons why it might not be happening. And I just want to give some suggestions as to what you could do if any of these apply. So reasons why it might not be happening. You hate the subject. I'm hoping this is less likely to happen at A level, but let's face it, it could. You could have chosen the wrong subject and you're too far in to change. You have now it could be for two reasons. It could either be because the subject, and this is possibly more relevant at GCSE than at A level, but it's possible that the subject seems to bear no flipping relevance to your everyday life. And I'm going to challenge you to try finding where it does apply to an aspect of your life or an aspect to life in general. In other words, find the context, the bigger context of the subject that you're studying. Algebra, in maths, you kind of go, what the heck is the point? When are we ever going to use trigonometry? When are we ever going to work out the angle of a triangle or use quadratic equations? Well, the bottom line is that those form the basis of all modelling that happens. So modelling how diseases spread, that's a bit topical. Modelling how weather changes across the globe, all comes down to that kind of maths. So that's why you're taught a little bit of it at GCSE, you're taught a bagload more at A level, but realising the relevance and the context of the subject that you are studying could really help you. I know at A level, you really get down into the nitty-gritty of photosynthesis in biology, for example. But just being able to look out in your garden and realizing that each of those leaves is acting as basically the most amazing solar panel to make glucose that becomes the source of energy for the plant and every other animal in the flipping food chain, hopefully just brings about a little bit more relevance, a little bit more wonder of the subject. There we go. So try applying bits to an aspect of your life. And if it's because you have started a subject and actually you're kind of going, I don't understand it, I'm completely lost, that's why I'm hating it. I think it's a case, now here's the hard thing, is deciding to take some action. I'm not saying action to understand every last bit of it, but deciding to take action to understand it better. I really understand that's a big ask. But Jade talks about doing this in her book when she started A-level chemistry, absolute flipping nightmare, was getting nowhere, getting D's and U's for her end of topic tests. And she realized she had to take action. So went to our head of chemistry and actually said, right, I need to see you after school on a weekly basis to go through this stuff because I am not understanding any of it. Taking action, either seeing your teachers, using YouTube, finding a website where you can buy videos, if necessary, that actually enable you to understand it. Could be the best investment. And you're bound to be more interested in a topic, or far more likely to be more interested in a subject, if you actually understand it. We're starting that virtuous circle upwards. The more you understand it, the more keen, the more interested you are, the more likely you are to want to study it. A virtuous circle as opposed to a vicious circle. Here's the next thing. Your friends are your greatest influencers. I remember when each of my children started at secondary school, the one thing I said to them was, be really careful who you make friends with, because those are the people who are going to influence you. And they're going to influence you probably more than we will as your parents, and certainly more than teachers will, because peer pressure is one of the most, this is one of the strongest pressures on students. So be aware that your friends are your greatest influencers, and they can be amazing if they have the same view of getting decent grades that you do. So here's the thing that you are going to have to think about. In class, and let's face it, in class is the first opportunity you have got to learn and absorb new concepts, new processes, new facts, the best you can. In class, you've got to make some decisions, and possibly even on a minute-by-minute basis. Is the priority going to be your friends in class, or is the priority going to be learning? And it's something that you need to think about, because friends are a massive, massive influence. And then the other thing that why it might not be happening is actually you're just in crap circumstances. And apologies for the slightly crude language. But I recognise that there are teachers out there that do not help your understanding, that don't teach well, that don't relate to students well. And that is a huge issue. I get that. I understand that there may be many of you who are not in ideal, lovely, middle-class home circumstances. You might not have a bedroom, you might not have a desk in your bedroom or a desk anywhere where you can actually study with an assurance of it being quiet and a good study space. Or you might have been brought up, you might have had the experience of never actually having to put self-discipline in place. That generally happens. Parents appropriately put discipline in place for children, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So I really appreciate that not everybody has the perfect circumstances to make studying easy. But what I want to say to you is, if you are in a circumstance where, it is not ideal, far from ideal, it is a case of, are you going to stop caring, or are you actually going to really kind of dig down and care more because you're actually in a disadvantaged place? So I'm just going to encourage you, because this is decision time too. And here's the real positive thing. Your education is all about you. It's the one thing you can be really pretty selfish on, and it be the right decision. Because we're going back to, in this day and age, better grades gives you better options as a general rule. Obviously, taking into account the caveats that I said earlier. So just recognizing what is going on and, what can cause problems. So in black, I'm going to talk about kind of say to you, these are the things that you need to think through, and write down your decisions on post-its or on pieces of paper and stick them in your room. Write down little phrases that you are going to be able to see, so that they remind you, to help you to be motivated despite some of these things. So here's one little thing. If, for example, you're sitting with friends, for whatever reason you feel like you can't pull yourself away from them, and you're kind of thinking, how do I just keep reminding myself that actually I'm in this classroom to learn? Silly little thing. How about writing RD on your pencil case or on something else that you are going to see regularly? RD for results day. I don't care what initials you write, but it's just writing something that means something to you and that is visible in the place where you need it to be, to remind yourself, oh, actually, this is the decision that I've made, that I want to move forward in, and I want to remind myself regularly. What else could it be? It could be that you could, I don't know, wear some little, corded bangle, not jewelry, because it's probably not allowed in school, but something that every time you see it, kind of go, oh yeah, I'm wearing that. Or a simple ring, perhaps, if those are allowed. I'm wearing this because it is to remind me that my focus is to get the best grades that I can. Anything as little reminders, really useful. So here are my little, post-its that you can stick up on your wall for the decisions that you have made. Use that. So now we're going to go on to talking about motivation and understanding it a little bit more and how it works. Here is the absolute bottom line. You are going to need to really think carefully about, why are you doing this? Why are you working towards getting decent grades? What are you going to get out of it? Is it because you want to be able to prove to yourself that you can do it? It's all about you, remember. It is all about you, and rightly so. Is it because you want to prove something to yourself? Is it because you want to prove something, hopefully, appropriately and healthily, prove something to family or friends or teachers? If that is something that is why you are working the way you are, absolutely hold on to it. Is it because you want to get certain grades so that you do have those ideal options that you are hoping for? The dream university or the dream course, whether it's GCSE, I've got to get my 7s so that I can go on to study the subjects that I want at A level. Oh, I've got to get, I really want to get ABB or AAB in order to get onto the university course that I want to get onto. Work out why you're doing it. Absolutely essential. And then, how about making, and some of you will have heard this in my revision lesson, making what I call a future poster. Now, here's a future poster. Now, the crucial thing about a future poster is that, number one, it is visual. It is a poster because this is going to go up above wherever it is that you study. Whether if you have a desk, it goes above your desk. If you don't have a desk and you study sitting up on your bed, then it goes on the wall next to your bed or on the side of your bedside cabinet, somewhere where you are going to see it wherever it is that you work. Because the whole point of this is that this is a poster reminding you of where you want to be at the next stage in your life. Not when you're 40 or 50 and you kind of, I want to be a millionaire. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the next stage. So here am I've made a poster pretending that I am an A-level student and that my great desire is to get into the University of Southampton to do biology. Because the point of me, and here I've just picked off pictures off the University of Southampton website. I've picked out pictures from the aspects of the course that I'm really interested in. Notice that I have also picked out pictures that denote social activities that I'm really excited about getting involved in. And, oh yeah, including the student bar, inevitably. And also some of the buildings and the outside of the buildings with some students in it so that you can visualize yourself there. This is what you want. You want to visualize yourself, be able to visualize yourself at that next stage. And the other thing that I would absolutely do is put the exam grades that you need on the poster and then print it out and put it on your walls so that you see it. So that every time you sit at a desk, you sit at your desk, you sit in your bed ready to sit on your bed ready to work, then that is there reminding you in a very visual way, no words to read, but reminding you why it is you are going to try and get some work done. We'll talk about ways of getting some work done in a minute. So, or writing out simply why you are doing this on a poster or a post-it note. So I know that Jade wrote on one of her post-it notes that she was doing this so that she could prove to herself that she was capable of certain things. Can't remember the exact wording. So notice that it doesn't matter. It's about why you are doing it. It's what is going to chime with you. It's going to really connect with you when you need to be able to sit down and work. Okay, next thing about motivation that we need to understand about a little bit. There are two types. One is intrinsic, it's called intrinsic motivation, basically coming from the inside. And that is, you are learning just for the love of learning. Notice that this feeds back into what I was talking about earlier, when it was like, if you hate a subject, part of the reason why you will either hate or maybe just not like a subject particularly is because you don't see its relevance. Notice that if you can realize a subject or a topic's relevance to your everyday life, then it is more interesting if it is relevant. So it might increase your intrinsic motivation for learning. The other type of motivation, yes, just for the love of learning. And here's your ultimate goal, that tests end up being positive experiences. I really know that sounds really bizarre. But listen, if you are totally intrinsically motivated, you just love learning, which is glorious if you are in that place, that actually tests, they're potentially really moments of growth and hopefully encouragement as well, because they end up showing you what you know, but also you should be able to learn from them how to improve on the things that you don't know. Now, the other type is extrinsic motivation, which is when you do something for a reward. Now, can I suggest that I don't think that there are actually just two types. I think they're probably at either end of a continuum, personally. And I think probably for each subject, or maybe even each topic that you do of a subject, that your motivation moves up and down that continuum, depending on many various factors. But notice that the extrinsic basically is that you're going for a reward. Now, that might be praise from your teachers, which hopefully is quite nice, praise from your parents, be impressing your siblings. It could be for money. I put an exclamation mark in this because as a parent, I hear of other parents paying their children for certain exam grades. Personally, I didn't go there, but that can happen. Or it can be, and here we are getting back to that motivation, that future poster for a future goal, which is why I suggest that whole poster, that future poster thing, so that you remind yourself of what your goal is, to get those grades so that you get into that course of your dreams. So notice, if let's talk about being intrinsic, have intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation at this end. I suspect most of us are somewhere within the middle. We quite enjoy learning, but actually some really, overt encouragement, concrete encouragement, extrinsic. Hey, let's face it, that really helps us along. But really useful for you to understand how you work and possibly notice how that you can possibly increase your intrinsic motivation, and you can increase your own extrinsic motivation, because the reward doesn't have to come from somewhere else. You know that the reward is actually being able to do the next thing that is on your career list, your academic career list. Oh, really quickly, I've got a website. I sell videos that cover all the A-level biology course for a subscription for £100 a year. If you just need the AS ones, it's 50 quid. I am really trying to make A-level biology accessible to every student, regardless of their family income. And that's why I enable every person, every student, to earn 10% commission on their friends' purchases. You could earn your commission back. You could even make a flipping profit. Woohoo, as far as I'm concerned. And there's a freebie on there, how to improve your grade up to an A star. All of the videos have me in a severely edited form, going through what you absolutely have to know. And then I go through exam questions at the end, just so that you know. Have a look. Anyway, motivation plus. Now we come to what your attitude to learning is. And there are two kind of types of attitude, but I'm going to say again, I suspect it's kind of more of a continuum rather than too discrete. Oh my goodness, continuum is continuous and discrete is separate. Remember those terms from your house science works? Let's hope so. Attitude to learning. You can have what is called a fixed mindset or a fixed attitude. And that is basically summarized in the phrase, I just can't do it. And maths is often the subject that has this said by students about it. I just can't do it. But notice you having that attitude, I just can't do it, closes off any possibility of improvement and kind of says that nothing can ever change. Oh, I'm just rubbish at maths. I just can't do that. And we all know students who say that of various subjects. But really, can nothing ever change? I think that's a load of rubbish. I really do. Here's the opposite, is this whole growth mindset. And this is summarized by the phrase, I can't do it yet. And notice the determination in the way that I said the word yet. Yeah, I can't do it yet. But this is where students have to dig deep. And I don't care, can I just say, I don't care whether you're an A student heading for an A star or an E student heading for a D or a C. I don't care where you are on that hierarchy. But if you have a growth mindset, if you entertain the possibility that you could actually improve if you work hard and grapple with aspects of the subject that you struggle with now, that means that you are giving yourself the best opportunity to learn. And this feeds back into tests being opportunities. And I really get that this is sounding like very teacher speak. But tests if you get them back and you know how to analyze them, and by the way, my freebie on my website tells you how to analyze them, yeah, if you can analyze your tests and work out what skills you are missing as a result of looking at what questions you got right and what questions you got wrong, or what, rather, let's be specific, what marks you lost, then you can recognize what skills you are missing and do something about them. Again, on the freebie, how to raise your grade up to an A star. So notice that this is all about changing the way you think about things. Because this potentially, the more that we can change from possibly going from extrinsic motivation, only doing it because of, you know, your parents are going to give you a fiver if you do well, you know, through to intrinsic motivation. I'm actually enjoying learning about this. Going from a fixed mindset, I really can't do this, through to one that, hey, if I really grapple with this, I can get better. I'm not saying you're going to get 100%, but I can get better and get more marks. I can learn and grow and expand my knowledge and my skills. Really important. Think about, and so I've said here, which are you? Let's change that a little bit. Where are you on the continuum? And I'm going to encourage you to strive to move up the continuum, you know, from being fixed mindset, or can't flip and do it, through to, maybe I can do it. I'm gonna have to work my blimmin' socks off, but I think I can nail it. And can you change? Can you move up the continuum? So great quote from Albert Einstein. I love this picture of him. It's not that I'm so smart, I just stay with problems longer. He did not grow up the brightest student in his class, by any means. I mean, that's extraordinary, isn't it? We think of Einstein as the guy with the brain the size of a planet. And yet he wasn't the brightest kid in the room at school, by any means. I think he worked in the post office for years, just as a kind of clerk, you kind of admin person for years and years. But he kept on turning over problems in his mind to the point where he was able to start finding solutions to them. So, and here's another little tip. How about making this your quote? Now, can I just say, I am really quite cynical about all of these, what do you call them? Motivational quotes. You can tell that I'm a bit cynical about them. So here's the thing about them. They have really got to hit a chord with you. You could plaster your walls in motivational quotes, because believe me, there are enough of them around. Use the ones that really speak to you, or change them slightly to make them really speak to you. Yeah, make them personal, make them yours. But, is this something that you kind of go, oh, flipping heck, that's the ultimate growth mindset. So here we go. This was the aim of the lesson, to make results day an attitude throughout your course, whether it be GCSE or A-level, not just the day at the end, because it's about how do you want to feel when you open up the envelope, when you see your results. Did you lay it all on the track, or did you not? This, having results day as an attitude rather than a day at the end of the course, is going to take daily, my goodness, even at times hourly choices in order to become a habit. And here's the ultimate aim, is that this actually becomes a habit, just like hopefully brushing your teeth is. It is just something, you just do it. It's part of your routine. You'd hardly even think about it. It is just the way that you live. So this is the ultimate aim. So I'm summarizing some of the ideas, and I'm giving you a few more. The future poster, keeping that next stage in sight all the time. Reminding yourself in written poster or post-it form about decisions that you have made, where you will see them, whether that's in your room at home, whether that is on a pen or pencil case at school. Don't care. Quotes, here I go, me being cynical, quotes that really speak to you, that really hit a chord with you. And then we've got wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. WOOP for short. Now, the future poster hits the first two because the wish is about what you want to achieve. Those are the grades that were on that poster. The outcome is what will happen. The outcome is the rest of the poster. You get into the university of your dreams. And then we come to the obstacle, because I can absolutely guarantee that things will get in the way. If you are an absolute sports lover, if you're an absolute sports lover, all of the training and the football or whatever sport you do that you really, really enjoy could possibly get in the way of your studies. Going to have to be careful about keeping that balance. If you are a social media guru and a social media lover, that's another huge distraction. Let's have a think, what else is it? Being a social animal, always you'd rather be chatting to people in family, chatting to friends, being with friends than doing the work. It's going to be an obstacle. So for each obstacle, have a plan as to what you're going to do when you hit the obstacle. So social media, put your phone underneath your pillow, yeah, assuming that you're working on the other side of the room at a desk, yeah. Have simple plans that help you decide when it is right that you should be just focusing on academic work and not on things that can take up a huge amount of time. You will know them for yourself. So these have got to be personal things for you. Whoop. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Recognize that they're going to hit and have a plan to get around them. And then how about how do I just get on with it? Yeah. So first one, I'm going to say, arrange your workspace. And I don't care whether you have to work, well, I do care, but if you have to work on a tray or a piece of wood on your bed because you don't have a desk, then arrange that. Have a large piece of hardboard or a tray on which you can work. Here's the thing, I would say, if you don't have your own desk and you have to work on your bed, always have the rule that you are going to sit up and the pillow is going to be behind your back when you're working. You're never going to try working lying down. You're never going to try working lying on your front and scrolling. I can guarantee within 10 minutes you'll be asleep. But make your workspace the place that you know you're going to work. Whenever you sit down on the sofa in front of the telly, you know you're relaxing because you're about to watch the telly. Yeah, whenever you're in a kitchen next to the cooker, you know you're about to bake a cake or whatever. So the place and what happens are inextricably linked. Make that the case for where you are going to work and arrange that workspace as much as you can so that when you're there, everything is there ready for you to actually do what you need to do. A few bits of paper, pens, highlighters if you can manage them, post-its if you can manage them. Laptop, let's face it. Then talking about routine. This is like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth because you enjoy it every day necessarily. You do it because it's actually totally become a habit. Science says that it takes about 2 or 3 weeks of daily repetition of a routine for it to become a habit, so that it actually feels weird if you don't do it. So try and make a basic routine. You know, if you know what time tea is, then kind of go, right, after dinner, I'm going to do, I don't know, 2 hours of work. If dinner's at 7, okay, I'm going to come home, I'm going to, you know, give myself a bit of relaxation time, but I'm going to work between 6 and 7. Get an hour done before, you know, that kind of thing. Try and make a routine. And here's the real one that I think can potentially help you enormously, because it is the first 10 minutes of getting down to work that is the most difficult. So here's my little tip, the 10-minute rule. Set 10 minutes on your clock, turn off on your phone, turn off notifications, don't be distracted. Say, right, do you know, I'm just going to do 10 minutes. It's all I'm going to aim to do. I'm just going to get 10 minutes of really concentrated work done. Set the timer and don't let anything distract you for that 10 minutes. It's really likely you could make it 15 or 20, yeah? But here's the thing. By the time you've done that 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, almost certainly you've then a little bit got into the groove of what it is that you're trying to do. And then you'll find yourself working not for 10 minutes, but maybe for 30, 40, or even 50 minutes, because you're in the groove of what you want to do. So that is a really useful one, just to get yourself going. 10 or 15 minutes doesn't seem too long. Anything else is a bonus. If we're really struggling, it's a really good one to try. And I kind of hope that that has been useful. We've kind of talked about how motivation works. We talked about different kind of attitudes that we can have to work. And I hope that I've given you some practical tips to get you motivated and keeping that goal in sight, making results day an attitude rather than a day, because you want to feel when you open that envelope that you have laid it all out on the track. You've done the best you possibly can. And then whatever those grades are, you couldn't have done